Thank you for joining us today. Hello and welcome to From Lansing with Love. I'm your host, State Representative Leslie Love. Every month we discuss a different topic with interesting guests. I hope you will find this program both informative and insightful. Well, with fall fast approaching, we'll discuss how the new Detroit Public Schools Community District is getting ready for students. During the summer months, school districts take advantage of not having students in class for 3 months and use the time to improve their facilities, make renovations, and prepare for the opening of schools. With that leisure time for students, however, many kids get out of the routine of getting up early and being ready to absorb the knowledge that will help them be successful later in life. We will talk about some of the things parents can do to help their child get back in the routine, ready to learn as quickly as possible. So today we are thrilled to have as our guest the new Superintendent of Detroit Public Schools Community District, Dr. Nikolai Vitti. Dr. Vitti took the helm of Michigan's largest school district just this past May, assuming responsibility for more than 6,000 employees, 48,000 students, and an annual budget of $660 million. He comes from the Duval County Public Schools in Jacksonville, Florida, the 20th largest school district in the nation with approximately 130,000 students in 200 schools and an annual budget of $1.7 billion budget. For the past 4.5 years, Dr. Vitti helped the district's graduation rates increase from 67% in 2012 to 7.8% in 2016, surpassing all Florida urban districts in African American graduation rates. Dr. Vitti was previously Chief Academic Officer of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Assistant Superintendent for the Miami-Dade District, and Deputy Chancellor at the Florida Department of Education. He also served children as a principal, Dean of Students, and a teacher. He received a bachelor's degree in history and a master's degree in education from Wake Forest University. He also holds a master's degree and a doctorate in education from Harvard University, Graduate School of Education. So thank you for being here, Dr. Vitti, and welcome to From Lansing with Love. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so it's exciting time now.
It is.
School, things are percolating. I was just in my district visiting Henry Ford High School, met the new principal there.
Yeah.
Very exciting, and I noticed that they had a summer program going on in the school. So what has been happening over the summertime before we get into what's happening in the fall, because you just haven't been sitting dormant? So
No, we've been working hard over the summer. All of the preparation to have a smooth opening of schools happens in the summer. We're using our schools for the first time in years as rec centers in partnership with the city so that we can have our students be exposed to caring, loving adults during the summertime. They can be attached to meaningful activities to stay out of trouble. And I think that's a long time coming in the city of Detroit, where for years the rec centers were not available. And the buildings that the city once used were no longer available, so we made ours available. In addition to that, we're recruiting teachers. We're fully staffed now with our principals. You mentioned the Henry Ford principal, someone who's a native Detroiter left to go to River Rouge, and we recruited him back. Fully staffed at the principal level, working with teacher vacancies, making sure that we have materials in schools, and most importantly, that we're recruiting students for the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, well, we're going to cover a lot of that today, and you touched on it. So let's begin. How can parents prepare their students for the academic year? What should they be doing over the summer recess?
I answer your question as obviously superintendent, the educational leader of the district, but I also answer it as a parent. I have 4 children myself, the oldest being 14, the youngest 8. All of them will be a part of Detroit Public School Community District come the fall. But in order to have our students be ready for the school year, I think it's important for parents to ensure students are reading throughout the summer. Find books that are interesting to them on topics that are interesting. You can get them at the local library, but reading is essential, and also writing. Have students write in a journal and just talk about what they read, not just read. As we move closer to the beginning of the school year, it's important to start a routine as far as when children go to bed. Even my children are staying up later than normal, obviously, right now during the summer. But about 2 weeks before school starts, they have to start going to bed at a time that is consistent with the time they should go to bed.
What's a good time to go to bed? Because
Well,
I know it's different for every parent, but I'm like, be in bed at 8 o'clock. That'd be great.
I think that's hard. I would say 9 o'clock is a fair time, and you can get away with maybe a later bedtime depending on the age of the student. But I would say definitely no later than 10:30, because a lot of our students are waking up very early to make that first bus on the way to school. And the last thing that we want are children that are lethargic as they go to school, because that cuts down on learning.
Right. So speaking of catching a bus, summer recreation programs in the school, you coming into the district, have you had a chance to build a relationship with the mayor? How are you working with the mayor, the city services like bus and transportation on school routes? What work have you done behind that?
Well, the mayor and I are starting to forge a strong relationship. We want the same thing. We want the city to regain the prominence it once had. And we know, and on the mayor's side, that's through economic development, investing more in neighborhoods, and on my end, it's improving the educational system. And I think all of our work is certainly aligned, and we have to share resources and communicate in order to better align the few resources that we have. We have 2 initiatives already. I've been on the job for a month, and I think we have 2 signature initiatives that speak to that partnership. One has been the use of the rec centers. So the city funded summer programming for students, and then we used our rec centers, our schools, as the locations for those rec centers. That's one major initiative, and the other one that was just announced last week was the partnership with the Land Bank Authority, which would allow our district employees, including principals and teachers, a 50% discount on auctioned houses, so that we can have more of our employees, especially our teachers, live in the city, which means that they create better relationships with our students and our parents, which creates greater trust. We're also working on enhancing Randolph's career technical education program and some other career technical education programs, because we need to create a better pipeline from our schools to our businesses in Detroit. And we know that too many of our students find the high school curriculum as irrelevant. The more we can connect what they're learning to real work experiences, it means that that they find school more engaging, interesting, and more importantly, a launch pad into employment opportunities in the city, and we need to hire our own in our city.
So what are you doing in the realm of transportation for our students?
Yeah, I was aware of your work and your role on certain committees for workforce development. Look forward to working with you on that. But what we're trying to do is move back to the model where certain schools are just CTE hubs, rather than trying to do the high school experience and the CTE hubs. Just do the CTE hub. We're actually working on that at Randolph right now. It's hard to sell a high school program to students when they don't have the traditional electives, they don't have the athletics, and I think we can make a pure implementation of the CT program at Randolph and some of the other CT programs that are doing that. But to answer your question on transportation, we are looking to expand transportation through the district in order to try to hit every neighborhood so that transportation isn't an obstacle. We're also starting to reevaluate the fact that FTE is shared between the homeschool and the CTE program. That creates a disincentive for the traditional high school to send students to the CTE school. So we're working on doing that differently to limit that obstacle.
It's really funny because it seems like everything that's old is new again.
You're right.
When I was in high school, there was always, at some point period of the day, there were a group of students who caught a bus and went to Randolph. Right. I graduated from Cooley High School, so it was great. But let me ask, so you mentioned this new program, incentive that's being offered for teachers in the new Detroit Public School District to buy a house 50% off, and 50% off, like this is a sale, land bank. So the land bank houses, you never know what you get in the land bank.
Right.
Some are really quality and some you definitely have to put in investment. But there's also commentary that people out there who would say, you know, there are people who've lived in the city all their life. They don't get any discount on a house. Why should we offer this incentive for people to come from another community and move into Detroit? What do you say to that?
It's a fair criticism. I think that should be obviously the individuals that are more relevant to that answer would be the mayor, real estate developers, bank institutions that offer loans. But for myself as a superintendent, I was trying to find out-of-the-box solutions to incentivizing teachers to come to work in our school district, and those that are in the school district to work or to live in Detroit. Only about 50% of our teachers actually live in the city. And to go back to what was old is new, is when you look back at public education in Detroit, a lot of the teachers once lived in the community. That creates stronger relationships, more credibility, more confidence, and just more trust between students and teachers. Too many of our students are just seeing unpredictability and a lack of consistency with relationships with adults. That happens in the home, but especially with their teachers, with their principals. And so if we can get teachers to live back in the city, I think it's a win-win. Economically, it's a win. It's a win for the community, but most importantly, and that should be the focus, is it's a win for children. So I can only speak to what I'm trying to do as superintendent, and this was one of those out-of-the-box solutions that I offered to the school board when they went through the vetting process to pick a new superintendent.
Do you know if that opportunity is available for current Detroit public school teachers? So I may live in a house, but I go, hey, I'm kind of upside down. If I can get one of those,
yes,
that's great.
Current and future. It also applies to city employees as well, so not just district employees.
But I also know that you had a job fair as well.
That's right.
To attract teachers, good quality teachers. Tell us about that.
So we've had 2 so far, and then we also had one to recruit teachers and students, parents from charter schools that recently closed in Detroit. So we've recruited about 100 teachers from 2 job fairs so far. Right now we're looking at over 300 vacancies. That's a combination of special education and general ed classrooms with a month ago. I think that will be cut. We're working hard. I made leadership changes in human resources to try to create a greater sense of urgency with the recruitment of teachers. We're also in the final stages of completing the collective bargaining agreement with our teachers to try to increase salaries. So we have to get to a point where we're fully staffed at the beginning of the year, and throughout the year, it's just frankly an injustice for our students not to have a full-time certified teacher in all of our classrooms. We're going to get there. I think we're going to be closer than we were last year at the beginning of the year, and I do believe by 18-19, which is the following year, we'll be fully staffed because it's just about systems and it's about creating the right incentive package. I think the land bank opportunity, but more importantly, the opportunity to increase salaries and create better working conditions for teachers has to be a priority, and I'm going to make that a priority as superintendent.
Good to hear that.
Yeah.
We'll be watching
Yeah.
because even this past legislative session earlier in the year, we passed some legislation about MISPers out of the House and changing from the hybrid program to this 401. And the arguments that was given by people on the other side of the aisle was that teachers, they they move about. Some people are very short term in the profession and they want to take their retirement. So coming out of undergrad, I was an education major, and I did not, Sister Dr. Eileen Rice did not teach us that this was a fly-by-night career. In fact, the first semester of first term, she really piled it on. She said, if this is not something that you love, that you feel you're designed for, don't do it. And so I don't look at it at all as this, I'm going to try it out for 5 years kind of thing. Has this changed? Has there been a change in teacher perspective of how they approach education? I
think for some it has. I wouldn't say for all. I still think that people are going through undergraduate studies knowing they want to be a teacher and they're committed long term to be a teacher. But I think that there is a reality that millennials and younger generations are not looking at one career for their entire life. And so that is obviously impacting all industries, but even the teaching profession. What we have to do a better job of is creating the right financial package, salary, to keep to attract our strongest undergraduate students to go into teaching, but more importantly, to keep them there. That's salary, but I think that's also work conditions, and we have to create better opportunities for teachers to stay connected to the classroom, but still grow professionally. A lot of our strongest teachers, after about 5 to 7 years of teaching, feel like they hit a professional ceiling, and we don't really offer new and different opportunities beyond being an administrator, and that's just not interesting for a lot of teachers. They want to stay connected to children and not be administrators. We have to do a better job of creating different pathways.
Okay, so if someone is interested in applying for a job, whether it's to be a teacher or an administrative office or support, for Detroit Public School Community District, where would they go to find that information?
Right to our website, and we're trying to enhance that to make that easier. We're also trying to expedite the hiring process, so we limit the red tape and bureaucracy that's gotten in the way of teachers signaling that they're interested and then actually being connected to a principal and then therefore a placement. But I would recommend them to go directly to our website to find information.
Okay, and we'll make sure to put that website information on the screen below. I want to talk very briefly before we go to break about parents. So I think one of the crucial elements in this whole equation are the parents. We've talked about the teachers, getting children ready for school, but what can parents do to be more involved, and what opportunities will be available for parents to be more engaged with their schools?
Right. Well, I always say, as a former teacher, and I've always worked in some of our toughest cities throughout the country, is I've never met a parent that doesn't care about their child's education. The only parents that I've ever come across that don't have a day-to-day focus on their children are those that are dealing with substance dependency. Outside of that, the parents that aren't actively involved in their child's education just often don't have the confidence, skill, or positive experiences when they were students to advocate for their child's education. So one thing that we're doing that we're going to start to build in our district is a parent academy. And the parent academy is something that I actually wrote my dissertation on in my work in Miami, and we built a parent academy in Jacksonville. And the Parent Academy will focus on 3 major areas. 1, how to help a parent advocate more and better for their child's education. How to help a parent just deal with developing skills to be a better parent. And also helping the parent, what I also call the whole parent. It's real hard to focus on your child's education when you're trying to pay the light bill, when you're trying to keep a job, or you're trying to get a job. So the Parent Academy is going to be out in the community. We'll initially fund it through private dollars and then shift to our own dollars. But the classes that will be offered will focus on what questions to ask during a parent-teacher conference, how to promote literacy at a young age, how to build critical thinking skills with students in the home, how to fill out a FAFSA form to get college aid for college.
Absolutely.
And then other classes will focus on how to help your child pick friends, how to monitor their activity on social media, and then how to deal with discipline issues and conflict resolution when there's conflict in the home, because there's always going to be conflict. And then lastly, offer parents classes on resume building, job interview skills, how to build financial literacy. So in my previous work in Jacksonville, we engage over 8,000 parents, and I think that there's a huge demand for this in Detroit, and something that I look forward to building in the future years.
That is exciting to hear, and I'm looking forward to that. But I do hear parents a lot say, what is this new math that's coming online?
Well,
so is there
yes.
is there any help for how do you help them with their homework? Because you can't, you know.
Well, I could speak to that, and so can my wife, who's also a former teacher, which is, the new math was very difficult for parents because we learn math a certain way. But we will be offering web sessions on our website so that parents can access how to help do the homework at home. We'll also have a hotline that parents can call in order to get help from teachers after hours and in the afternoon, evening, retired teachers or current teachers that are willing to make some extra money in the evening. So those are ways that we're going to help parents, and through the Parent Academy, offering classes at schools to better understand how to teach the math.
Okay. I know a lot of parents come in through the fun stuff. Sports and entertainment. So I know every time we had a talent show, the auditorium was packed with parents, or at a sporting event, they want to come and encourage their young people. Is there any thought or coordinated effort because that's usually the place where you'll get the most bang
That's
for your
right.
buck.
Right.
You bring them in that way, and then you keep, the academy is another forum to do that. Anything around sports and arts and culture like that?
Well, I will say on the arts front, I think that there's a huge demand and opportunity to expand the arts in Detroit. I say this as a point of pride, but also to signal my commitment to the arts. When I was in Jacksonville, I was named Florida Superintendent of the Year for the arts separately and for music, because I restored art and music in all schools throughout our district, and I plan to do that in Detroit as well.
This is exciting news. All the creative kids out there, you've got a superintendent that loves the arts.
And not only, and I would say not even the students that consider themselves creative, it's even, students that don't, because everyone benefits from art exposure.
Absolutely.
So, part of that process will be analyzing our budget this year, seeing where the gaps are, the opportunities, and then connecting that to a new strategic plan. But back to your question, we have to leverage the sporting events, the talent shows, to message the parents that there's opportunities to go to the Parent Academy, and also to try to message the parents to try to help enrollment and in recruitment. The best way to market schools is through word of mouth. And when parents have a good experience, then they'll tell another parent that had a good experience. So we also have to use those opportunities as a better way to market our schools.
Yes. So this is good, and we'll talk more about that when we come back. It's time for us now to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to From Lansing with Love. I'm here with the new superintendent of Detroit Public Community School District, Dr. Nikolai Vitti. And thank you again for being here, and welcome back. I was going to say off camera, but I said I'm going to save it for when the cameras are rolling. In our last segment, to hear that you were honored in the arts in your former school district, and me being a creative, I taught in the arts for many years, and so much focus has been on STEM and not enough on arts, and I'm always saying STEAM, because it's the creative that makes it sexy and attractive. And I don't know that people think about when they design buildings or furniture or even clothing, there is the mechanics of building clothes, and then there's the creative of designing them. And so that the two can be and are related in many cases, and how you plan to bring arts back into every school in the district. So I'm excited to hear that. I think we bombard our kids with so much right now to be an adult now, to be prepared for, know what you want to be in middle school. And I didn't figure it out till I was probably 30. So it's good to hear that. And I see that there are new programs. Not only are you talking about integrating arts into schools, but I saw a sign at my Werner Elementary in my district that says they'll have a Montessori Academy there. What other new programs can we look forward to in the new school district?
So you mentioned Montessori, a lot of emphasis on STEM. So that's science, technology, engineering, and math type of programs. Beginning slowly to expand art and music programming is another focus. And then, something that we talked about earlier is at Randolph and other schools, career technical education type programming. I think it's important to talk about programming for a minute. We through the emergency management process and through financial emergencies, we have de-invested in programming. And we know that a core education linked to reading, math, science, and social studies is obviously essential. But so many of our students connect to the core curriculum because of the electives. and to build their confidence and just overall self-esteem through the electives, which then helps them in the core areas. And if we're going to bring students back to traditional public schools, we have to ramp up our programming. So Montessori, focus on STEM, art and music in general, and then our wraparound services. That's what's unique in traditional public schools, is trying to get to the whole child and the whole parent and actually the community, which I think is very different than what a lot of charter schools and even private schools offer.
What are some of those wraparound services?
So wraparound services would be linked to additional counseling for our students, access to mental health and just health care in general for our parents or guardians, caregivers, after school programming. Those are all examples of wraparound services that are unique in our schools as compared to other schools in the city.
I've had students from DPS come and advocate for the clinics in the schools.
Yes.
Will we still have the clinics in the schools?
We have some. Our vision is try to expand that district-wide, and I think we can do that through private-public partnerships and even with stronger partnerships with our hospitals. You know, one thing that I was able to do in my other roles in other cities is try to bring those services to the school. A lot of our parents don't have the time, energy, or know how to navigate the process in order to gain access to those resources. We put them at the school, they're immediately there.
Okay, so there's a couple of more things before we run out of time today. You were in an interview, and when you first came on board, where you said you'd like to see DPS focus more on improving its traditional public schools rather than to continue to expand resources of authorizing charter schools. Can you talk about that, your relationship between charter schools and traditional schools?
Sure. So I've always been an advocate of choice. I think the problem in Michigan is it hasn't been controlled quality choice. I think we all want parents to have the option to pick the school that they think is best for their child. But at the same time, the charter movement in Michigan has not been regulated. And we can't experiment on our kids. We don't have the time. And we're wasting resources when we allow providers to open up schools that have no track record of success, especially in the urban core.
We've had quite a disaster in Michigan with the school, and we've been inundated with there are too many, it's too much choice.
Correct.
And not regulated.
And then so for us, it's what do we own? We own traditional public schools, so let's focus on that, increase the quality there, and then let charters focus on their work, but our work as a district should be on traditional public schools.
Absolutely.
And so that's where that comment came from.
My last question for you, Dr. Vitti,
Sure.
and it's been wonderful talking to you, and it's, what surprised you the most when you came and explored Detroit Public Schools?
Yeah.
After almost 10 years of emergency management, what kind of blew your mind?
Well, on the positive is the deep commitment that employees, especially teachers, have to children. Despite all the chaos, despite all the, honestly, mismanagement, lack of leadership, changing governance structures, there were adults that came to work every day despite all the noise, all the nonsense, and focused on children that are still here. So that was, I knew that, but to actually talk to people and see that is encouraging just on a human level. But beyond that, and more on the negative or critical side, is just a complete lack of systems and processes, from everything to hiring people, to paying people, curriculum selection, program development. The district has been run as if it was in bankruptcy, releasing assets with no overall vision for what a district should look like. And it's not about any individual, but people that ran the district before Alicia Merriweather were not educators. They weren't educational leaders, so they didn't think about the classroom. They didn't think how to create a system that supported teachers and principals and students. They ran the district like a business. And you can see the decade length of a lack of vision for children. So, you know, I say we are rebuilding a district brick by brick, but we're going to go fast. And we have a core group of employees that deeply care about kids that just need to be better supported. And we will make this district, it sounds cliche, but we're going to make it a great district again. I'm completely comfortable in saying that and confident. We just have to manage expectations knowing it's not going to happen overnight. But with the right focus, we'll get there. And I'm excited to work for a school board, which is very important, that's locally elected and dedicated to the school system. We're working very well together, and our focus is on children. And I don't think we could say that over the last decade.
All right. Wow. This has been probably my favorite show so far since we've been doing From Lansing with Love. And unfortunately, it has to come to an end. So that's about all the time we have for today. And I'd like to once again thank my guest, Dr. Nikolai Vitti, Superintendent of Detroit Public Schools Community District, for joining us today. And thank you to all of you for watching. If you have an idea for a show or you'd like to be a show guest, please contact my office. That contact information will be on the screen. So until next time, be good to yourself and each other. And with that, we're all clear and out of here.